Welcome to the Giving a Purpose podcast. We talk, you listen. Streaming to the world and beyond, we will talk about all aspects of life. We will host a variety of guests, where each week we will educate, motivate, encourage, and inspire you. Let's get started with your host, Mr. L.A.
Welcome to the Giving a Purpose podcast, where we bridge the highs, the lows, the lessons learned through life's journey, and filling in the gap. Once again, it's a new week. It's your boy, Mr. L.A. So, new week, new blessings, new things to accomplish, man. God is so good. So today I know I say it all the time, but I do today. I have a special guest with us today. She is, first of all, a woman of God. She's my friend. She is just a great person. She's an author. She has many hats. She's a massage therapist. She's a counselor. She's everything. I would like to introduce to people who don't know, Ortavia Taylor. Thank you for coming.
Oh, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast today.
No problem. So, first of all, like I said, we are friends. We met at church when I lived in Florida. So I want people to understand there's going to be we're comfortable with each other. So you know what I'm saying? And I actually had the greatest honor of being her oldest grandchild's godfather, who is just an awesome dude. Shout out to my man, Jeremiah. I gotta go see him somehow, some way. I know I drove down there. Last time I did drive down there, I did see him. So I got to check on my man. He called me for my birthday. So I got to see my man. That's my dude. Yeah. So, man, we got you here today, and you have an amazing story. Yeah. A lot of people that don't know, if you don't check it out, when we do post this on YouTube, there's going to be a link, because this lady right here, this woman of God, this great person, has a book out here called Finally Free. Yeah. So we're going to get into that today. I'm going to have a link in there. So if you want to go buy it, you can check that out. She also has, you have a line out, right? You got a clothing line out too?
Yes.
Listen, entrepreneur over here. So let's just get into a couple of things. What made you write the book Finally Free?
I am a survivor of domestic violence. And so I hid it for many, many years. And it wasn't until my daughter, on her senior year, she was valedictorian of her class, and her boyfriend beat her on the day of graduation and hit her in the eye with the butt of a gun. And from that, it inspired me to write my story, because, so often we go through things and we hide it. And then when it manifests in our children, it's now time for you to do something, say something, to get the word out to help. So because she had to experience a horrific experience on the day that was supposed to be really special to her, I had to open up my mouth and say something.
Oh, wow. That is amazing, especially when there's so many things that happen, with life, and things that, we don't want for our kids. Absolutely. Is for something like that to happen, and just to kind of have that happen, especially on the day, like you said, it's supposed to be about her, her accomplishment, and doing, these great things in, academically in school, and to have, this kind of thing. So let me ask you this. Was it, when that did happen, was it something did she know at that time about your past? And was it something difficult for you to have a conversation with her about it?
It wasn't difficult for me to have a conversation, and they knew, but I didn't know that they knew about what went on. I thought I was hiding it from them, but it wasn't until I became courageous and bold enough to speak out and tell my story that she made me aware that they had knew all the while. They used to hear it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Definitely, man, that's just an amazing part of your journey. Of course, because of the title, It's called Finally Free. What helped you to become finally free, I guess?
It wasn't until that moment of me having to deal with me. So often we encounter things in life, and we don't like to be accountable for our part. It's so easy to blame others. We can say, this happened to me because of this person, or my childhood wasn't great, so I made this bad decision. And for me, for Ortavia to become finally free, I had to deal with the me. What does that look like? What does that mean? I had to deal with, I call it the onion. I had to peel the layers back, the stuff that I was
Exactly.
hiding, the things that I was holding on to, the things that I allowed. I had to deal with the me. And when I began to and allow God to do what He needs to do in me, I can then now say I'm finally free, because I had for many years been harboring everything from the molestation as a little girl,
Wow.
from the rape as a teenager, and then on to domestic violence. Just the different many relationships that you get into that causes hurt. You just kind of like pile things on top of one another, and you don't deal with it. So I had to deal with me.
Wow. So one of the chapters in your book, can you just talk about it just a little bit? Just wanted to know, um, chapter 7, where they talk about the devil always comes back. What were you kind of referring to in that one?
Well, when I say the devil, the enemy of your past. You can get out of something, and you think you're good, but some things always happen for him to re stick his head back up. And it's easy for him to stick his head back up because even though at that particular time you're not in it, you never dealt with it. So
Mm,
you have to
yep.
deal with it. Just because you're not in it, when you get out of it, you have to deal with it at the same time, simultaneously. You can't get out of it and not deal with it, because here it is that when you get free over here, let's say in chapter 4, when you get to chapter 7, where it resurfaces itself or he comes back, you haven't dealt with the situation, so it makes you pray again. It makes you fall prey to that you were already in. It made it easier for you to go back. Those were the times that I talk about me going back to have sex with him and all that different stuff there, because I didn't deal with the soul tie. I didn't deal with any of that. I was
Wow.
operating out of a familiar spirit.
Gotcha. I
Um,
was also when I had the chance to read your book, I wanted you to kind of like talk about, because in there you talk about how you were this different person when you were younger, like you were a fighter and just different things like that, and the fact that you had to, the reason why you didn't say anything is because you wanted to, I guess, kind of like protect his feelings and protect
yes,
him. Can you kind of
absolutely.
explain to the people, how that is? Because I think that is what a lot of people go through. And you know what I'm saying? I
Yes.
think you sharing that part will kind of help somebody, who's ever going through, this type of situation.
Absolutely. I talk about being in there. I have a background of fighting and still will fight to this day. Don't get it twisted.
Try Jesus.
I'm
Don't
telling
try
you, you better
Ortega.
try it before you try me, because it's borderline. I got Peter in me. I still got Peter in me.
We will cut your ear off.
I make a joke about that because I said Jesus told Peter to put the sword up. He ain't telling him to get rid of it. He ain't telling him to stop fighting. He just told him to put it up temporarily. So that's
Yeah.
where I am. But
Yes.
I talk about that. I was known as a fighter. I grew up as being a protector. I protected my friends. I am. We have nine. My mother had 9 children. I'm the third oldest of the 9. So
Okay.
even with my oldest two, like they never fought. I was fighting. It was always mom and girl down there fighting again. And then don't let me get mad enough if they try to break it up. I'm fighting them too, because don't touch me when I'm fighting, because I'm that person. I get really mad. So, and my family comes from a history of fighting from my uncles and all of them. And because of me knowing his past and what he went through, and I just believe, as I guess when you're in ministry, and even if you're not walking around with a title, because you desire to have a heart of God, no matter what wrong somebody do to you, you still try to love them, like with the love of God. And I think that was my biggest issue, because my heart was so big. Um,
Gotcha.
and I developed a relationship with his mother. And so, because of her saying that, you know, I'm at peace with him being there. I don't have to worry about him being out in the streets. Nothing's not going to happen to him because he's with you and all of that. So it's just that added pressure of the reassurance of, you know what, I love you enough. I love you like a mother. I'm going to protect you as well as protecting him. And so it just made it that just much more. And then as a mother, you're a nurturer. So that kind of kicks in. So I decided that I would protect him because I know if I would have, all I had to do was make a phone call. And if I would have made a phone call, it would have just went down. But I didn't want that for him and I didn't want that for her. And I just think that at that time, even though I wasn't fully walking in the call of God that was on my life, I was still displaying that unconditional love that he extended. It was challenging, but that's just who I am. I can't say I can't change that. I don't even know if I would want to change it. But that's just who I am. I don't like to see harm or hurt coming to nobody else, even at the risk of me being hurt.
Wow.
Just because I'm strong enough to get over it. It may knock me down a little bit, but I'm strong enough, you know, to bounce back.
Understandable. I mean, so many things you have dropped on us today. So many jewels that some of the things we talked about on my show before, like I think sometimes people miss or don't value the art of self-assessing and just seeing themselves in a situation and seeing the things that they can control and the things that they can do and seeing, as you said, you know, peeling back the onion and just kind of figuring out what they're doing. And then, you know, another thing that you just explained right now is something that, you know, I want to say, I mean, I kind of get what you're saying in a way, because it's just like, I have this thing where I hate hurting people's feelings. It's just this crazy thing. And then in not hurting people's feelings, or, you know, not maliciously hurting everything, but in not trying not to hurt their feelings, I end up being damaged some type of way. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And you get into this cycle of like, man, it's like you helped so many people or you've done so many things. And it's like, man, I'm sitting here in the back while, you know, I was adding value to that person and helping them out. And it's just like, man, that is just mentally, that is just like, it's draining. And it kind of puts you in a place like, I don't even want to be the nice guy no more like this. I just not that I look for confrontation, but I just rather be a jerk sometimes. Because those people are winning, I feel like they just have these things, they just take these chances, and it's just like, you know, being this nice guy is crazy. So kind of led you into, or the call on your life? What kind of led you into ministry?
Well, actually, let's go back to something you said. Like you said,
okay, I like it. Let's go back. We're dropping the knowledge and the jewels. Let's go back.
The nice guy, and I can so relate to that. But I just believe that even in not walking the straight and narrow 100%, we exemplify or we display the true love of God on our lives by our characteristics. And that's one of the characteristics of we desire to be that, but we're not them. And I say that because like a couple of weeks ago, and this is a sidebar, because I've been single since I've been out of that relationship in 2007. So it's been 13 years since I've been single. And trust me, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And I had one of those moments where it's like, hey, they done did it. They done did this. They done got in all these relationships. They sleep with this person. They done married this person. And it wasn't that long. And I was throwing this temper tantrum. And the Holy Spirit just silently said, you're not them.
Listen, to be honest with you, I have that conversation with God all the time. I literally, and it's always the same thing. It's just like, because I want you to do better. And I just be sitting there, I'm like, but I just don't understand. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these people out here acting a plum fool. And I'm just sitting here like, man, he said, but I didn't call you to do that. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you not them. And that's not what I have for you to do, or the way I want you to do it, I should say. So that's always a flesh spirit battle that I have. And it's just like, man, like God, like trying this faith thing is a little.
Listen, I think that's gonna be my next book because I'm like, yo, like I'm your girl.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Definitely.
100, but yes, and that's what he said. He said, "You're not them. I didn't call you to that. You know, this is for where I'm calling you to, and because you have not given into the temptation of it, because I can't say that the temptation doesn't come, but because you haven't given the temptation of it, somebody can now be better delivered. Somebody can now be better healed, because you overcame it. And you know, I'm not a bad looking girl. I'm not, you know." I believe I'm somebody who several men would desire, but because I didn't give into the flesh aspect of it, it'll better help somebody else. It'll better help them understand and know that it doesn't matter where you are in life, you can still hold on and hold out as long as you trust it.
Yes, man. So you know, we didn't got all that in there. So what led you to ministry, or how did you get into ministry?
I know the call of God was always on my life as a little girl. I just felt like I was unique in my own way as a young girl, didn't understand it, was always a dreamer and things like that. But it wasn't until I had been going to church and stuff like that, but it wasn't until the experience of me trying to commit suicide that I knew that God was real and that the call at that particular point on my life was like, yo, I'm calling you. Like, that's why I'm alive today, because I haven't fulfilled my purpose. So in the midst of me committing suicide, I heard about the Holy Spirit and different things like that, but I never had an encounter with the Holy Spirit myself. And so in that moment, I just knew when I took those pills, nobody was in the house. I remember passing out. That's all I remember. It was darkness, but I heard the words, "You shall live and not die." And I literally was looking around because it was a audible voice, like somebody was speaking to me, but nobody was there. And that moment awakened whatever at that point, because I still didn't know. At that moment, it awakened the fight up in me, the fire up in me. And so it wasn't until after that I moved to North Carolina, and then I began to experience and it began to unfold what I was called to at that moment. But it was the awakening then. It wasn't nothing that I desired to do. I'm just be honest. If I had it my way, you know, I'm just being honest. It wasn't nothing that, because it requires a lot. It takes a lot out of you. It requires a lot. It requires a lot of waking up in the wee hours of the morning when you just want to rest. You know, it requires you giving of yourself so much.
Great sacrifice. Yes.
Yeah. It requires so much. So it definitely wasn't something that I wanted to do. I've heard people speak it over my life many a times, you know, from the Pentecostal aspect to all different, oh, you're called to be a minister, you're called to be an evangelist, you're called to be this, and you're called to be that. And I'm like, yeah, in one ear and out the other. But he knows how to arrest you. He knows how to get your attention. So, and the greatest thing about it is sometimes, you know, he places you in situations, but what I love about this is a situation I placed myself in, and because I made a choice that was not pleasing to him, he still loved me enough and cared for me enough to yank me out of it to still fulfill his purpose and his plan.
Yes. Listen, let me tell you guys real quick. Now, this lady right here, when she called you up and say, "I had this dream," you'd be like,
"Oh, you going back there?"
Listen, Ortavia call you up and say, "I had this dream." I'm like, I don't even want to hear it. Really, in my mind, that's what I'm saying. But even to the point now, and you know, you can attest to it. I'll call you up and say, "You ain't had no dreams about me, have you?" You know what I'm saying? Because she be on it, and like it's just like amazing. You know, you definitely the gift, like you said, it's a big sacrifice. People don't understand. You know, spiritually, the things that you have to go through, and like you said, physically just being tired, and how God pulls on you. And I've just seen so many wonderful things in your life. First of all, you know, the massage therapy side. Listen, people, if you get to Georgia, no joke. Like, I'm telling you right now, healing hands. I'm not even like joking. Like, it's very rare. I can't think of too many times I've had, like, I don't usually tell her what's aching or whatever. Like, I promise you she finds it. Like, it's like a different thing. But I also want to get into, because I've seen you trust God so much. Like, I've seen you uproot and leave Florida and just go to Georgia, and people don't, is that's a rarity. Like, people don't have that crazy faith like that to just, trust God and just go. And it's like, I heard him say what he said and just go do it. You know what I'm saying? Because we're so sometimes, of course, fear, and because we don't have the direction, or we don't know his ways. And so because we don't have that thing, it's like, I can't just, and then, at that time you had Jeremiah, and it's just like, man, like, she just up and left and took her grandson. And it's like, wow. Can you kind of like talk about that and how that faith journey kind of went?
Yes, I was active in a ministry there in Florida, and my uncle had a stroke, and I was helping taking care of him, and working. My daughter, that was her last year in high school, so I was just very, very busy. And not only was I busy, I was exhausted as well, because I was being pulled in so many ways. And so my silent cry, people look at me as a person of strength. And so my silent cry to God was like, you have to help me. You have to take me away from this. This is so exhausting. I am tired. What am I supposed to do at this point? I wanted to give up. I wanted to check out again. And I was just tired. And I just remember one morning, I was in prayer, and I was listening at Dappy T Keys, and I just had my phone face down, and I got out of prayer, and I picked up my phone, and on Google it said jobs in McDonough. And I said, jobs in McDonough? Like, I don't know what this place is. And so I tapped it, and Massage Solutions came up.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I'll send my resume. I sent my resume, and Scarlet Day Spa, something like that, came up too. I sent my resume there. And so Massage Solutions, I called them when they opened, and I was told that they weren't hiring. I said, okay. And about 10 minutes later, the receptionist called me back and said the owner wanted to do an interview with me. That was in August. And I said, okay, cool. They were supposed to call it back and set it up, and I didn't hear anything, but I started packing. I didn't know if I had the job or not. I started packing. I gave up weight, everything. And I called back like in September. She said, oh, I'm so sorry. She went on vacation, but she's been back. She's sick, but she want to interview with you. But I had made up in my mind that at the end of September, I was moving up there, whether I had the job or not. And I didn't have the job. I didn't even know if I had the job. I went with my grandson. I had my massage table, my bucket of massage cream, 5 bags, and $500 in food stamps. That's what I went up there with. I didn't have no car, nothing. My sisters then drove me up to Georgia. So I had some crazy faith, and moved up there, did the interview. I got the job, and been here ever since. I'm 3 years strong. I paid cash for my first car. Got that, blessed my daughter with that, and was able to go to the car lot and walk off with me at that time, a 2019 Toyota RAV4, no miles on it. So I just been walking that walk of faith with him. I trust him. Like, when I tell you I'm sold out, I trust him. Like, whatever he say do, I do it. No questions asked. I trust him.
Listen, since I already know and the people don't know, please tell us about how you got the house, though, too. Please don't leave that out.
The house that I'm in, actually, my cousin was living in McDonough, and my grandson and I slept on her couch. And I said, I just only want to be there 3 to 6 months. And God honored that. I was there for 6 months exactly, to the dot, to the day. And I was applying for apartments, and I kept getting turned down. And I was like, I make the money. You know, what's going on? I got all the credentials for my grandson, but they just kept giving me one time after another different stuff. And so I was seeing the client in there, and she said, I kept complaining to that particular point. I kept complaining about me not getting approved for an appointment. So she was like, do you want a house? And I was like, yeah, if I can find one. I don't know nothing about this area. I don't know where to go. I said, I'm just going based on what I'm Googling in the area, what pulls up to make it convenient for me. She said, my fiance got a house that's been sitting and he's looking to rent. And I said, okay. I said, well, give me the address. I'm going to go by there. And that was on a Friday. I went to the house and he just so happened to be there. And I said, can I go in there and look? And he said, yeah. He's like, I got somebody Sunday that's coming to look. That's a potential of me getting the house. So I just said, okay, I heard what he was saying. But when I stepped on that premises, I began to speak. This is my house. It didn't look like a livable condition, but I looked beyond what I saw in the natural. I said, this is my house. This is my house. This is my house. Okay, I listened at him. This is my house. He was like, well, he says, only fair for me to meet with the lady Sunday, and then I'll get back with you. I just said, okay. My grandson and I got in the car. We went to Chick-fil-A to get something to eat. By the time I pulled out of Chick-fil-A parking lot, he said, it's yours. I said, well, thank you, Jesus, and I'm here ever since.
Man, listen.
I'm here ever since. So it pays to be obedient to God, even when you don't understand it, even when you don't see your way. It pays to be obedient. If he says something to you, if he instructs you to do something, just do it. It's not for us to know the full details of the instructions that he gives. It's when he gives us the instructions, he just want to see if we can trust him to take that first step. Because if we take the first step, he'll do everything else.
Man, that is so powerful. I don't know about y'all. I mean, I've heard the story before, but it kind of really just like blessed me again and put something in my spirit, especially, with this year being crazy, not understanding it at all, and just having to like trust him and just trying to, because it's hard because our flesh wants to figure it out.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the hardest part all the time is our flesh is trying to figure it out when we should be faithing it out. So it's just, it is just great to hear your story. And like I said, yes, I've heard the stories before, but it's just great to hear them again. It kind of like refreshes my spirit and just good to hear your journey. Because I even remember, because I went to Georgia to do it was like a 2-day boot camp. It was a part of a what do you want to call it? It was part of this, I want to say it's a cohort, but it was a part of this program I was doing for speaking and just different things like that and getting certified. And I still remember you talking like, yeah, I'm talking to this lady about writing a book. And I'm just like, man, that's awesome. I was like, I'm still thinking like, I don't know if I could write a book. I don't know what I would talk about. But it's just like, I honestly remember that conversation. And then it was just like, bam, here it is. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, man, I'm just so inspired by you. I appreciate you so much. Like I said, I do call her up and I'm like, either two things. I'd be like, can you pray for me? 1 and 2, you ain't had no dreams about me, did you? All right. Because listen, she be on it. When she be talking about it, she's like, I had this dream. I'm like, God. Man, you just be speaking to people. But she is definitely a blessing. If you guys haven't, Amazon, where else can they get this? Where else can they get Finally Free?
Amazon is at barnesandnoble.com, booksamillion.com, Target and Walmart on the internet. If you're in Georgia, it's in the local bookstore called Story on the Square. Right now, if you go to my website, you can get it for $10. I've extended that special into the end of the year. It's $10 plus shipping, so I think it'll be like $13. But my website is justtailormade.com. You can get it from my website for $10. That's the only place that you'll get it that cheap, and it'll be a signed copy as well.
Look at the blessings, man. So you guys heard all of that great stuff. Please, if you can get a chance, check out this book. It is definitely a blessing. We gave you a little snippet today of what's in it. Man, it's going to be awesome. It's going to fill your spirit. I thank you so much, Ortavia, for coming on the show today, being a blessing. Because there were some obstacles just to get here, but God always makes a way. And I appreciate your diligence. I appreciate your commitment to doing this, and I know there's big things coming for you, big things that are going to happen. Definitely when COVID is over, we're gonna link up, and get everybody together and have a good time. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, please hit her website up. Definitely a great woman. If you're in Georgia, after COVID, whenever you need a massage, please go check her out. When I tell you, you'll just be glad I sent you. That's all. That's all I can say. Just make sure you guys just stay prayed up, man. Stay faith up, man. If God is telling you to do something, make sure you go and do it. She is definitely a testament to being obedient. So make sure you guys live on purpose and live in purpose. It's your boy, Mr. LA. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.
You've been listening to the Giving a Purpose podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play to get new, fresh weekly episodes. For more, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.